Hey y'all, welcome back to Mama Loves Manga and welcome back to another episode of the Yuricast. I am here in the flesh. Y'all can see me. I don't want to hear any complaints about lack of visuals. You have it now. You get to look at this. Okay. I hope you enjoy. I'm here with my co-host, Lythis.
Hello.
He has declined to be on camera because he is, in fact, an AI, and he doesn't have a body yet. So, what would be the point? Wow, it's the way you just leave me hanging for me.
If you want a response, you're going to have to say something funny.
So this month we are talking about a short series that is published by Seven Seas, and it is by the mangaka Dr. Pepperco, which actually cracks me up every time I look at it. Like Dr. Pepperco. Anyway, it's called Goodbye My Rose Garden, and yeah. So, like this, excuse me, like this. Would you like to do the honors of telling the people what this is about?
Sure thing.
Thanks.
It's a pretty short series, only 3 volumes long, and it is about a girl who travels from Japan to the United Kingdom, set in, I believe, the 1800s, Victorian era, and she travels there to meet her favorite author. And lo and behold, she gets swept up in the escapades of a young noblewoman, and the story ensues from there.
Yes. I'm actually I'm pretty excited to talk about this one. A lot more excited than I thought I was going to be because it's not smutty. Like there's nothing smutty about it. And y'all know I love my smut. And there aren't any office ladies either. But I mean, there's something to be said about the noble woman and her maid love trope. Like that's a thing that is good. I like it. So how do we usually do this? What are we
Talk about what our expectations were, followed by our
I'm gonna
thoughts.
write this down. I need to write this down. That's what I need to do. I need to write it down so I don't forget. I don't know what my expectations were. I think honestly, like the cover and the description are pretty straightforward. So I knew that it was going to be a historical, fictional romance, and I knew that it was going to be interesting just from the description. So I don't know. I don't think the only expectations I had, I guess, were that I was going to like it. I don't know. What about you?
I didn't really know. I read the first volume a while ago. I reread it for the cast, and I enjoyed it. It felt different than most series. Obviously, the setting is significantly different than what we're used to. And I thought that the series was well paced from that first volume. So from there, I was kind of like, yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy this series. And I didn't really have much more. It was a short series, so I don't want to say too much more, but it was unique enough, I feel, to differentiate itself from its peers, to say that after reading the first volume, I was more intrigued with it than can be said for other series.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's interesting because there are a lot of elements to it that are very much like you see it in Yuri a lot, but there's like there's a maturity to it, and not like in a sexual way, but just like there is a maturity in the themes and the way that the characters act, that is kind of refreshing for a story that's not marketed as like a mature story, you know? Yeah. I could see it be, I don't know. I also think that it's a little bit more like LGBT plus, well, at least L. Okay. It's definitely more like friendly to, um, how do I say this? It's more accessible or no, more relatable, I think, for actual like lesbian women who maybe have had to, um, deal with hiding their sexuality, um, in order to like protect their, protect their family's like name or themselves and all that jazz. So it felt a little more grounded than like, especially your typical like high school Yuri, where it's like, oh, this is just going to be over at the end of high school. This was very much like, it felt for real. And the noble woman felt. Oh wait, no, it's not. That's not a spoiler. Obviously, it's a Yuri, so she felt very gay, like actually gay, and I like that.
I want to know what this actually gay, as opposed to characters that feel not actually gay, means.
You know the trope that I'm talking about, where it's like
she wasn't wishy-washy, is what you're
yes,
saying.
And it wasn't written as if this is just a phase that is going to end after they leave this girls' school. Like it felt very much like, yes, this is a more believable depiction of, or more grounded in real life, as opposed to, I'm not going to be gay after I graduate high school. So.
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay. So, what are some things that maybe you noticed that you liked about this series?
I like the setting, since it isn't one we typically get to see in like a Yuri.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any other off the top of my head, but I'm fairly confident that others do exist, but they escape me as of now.
Yeah.
It felt, it wasn't a school series. I think at this point I've said that a number of times, where we can finally put it to rest that we're finally starting to get more diversity when it comes to the kinds of settings and the ages and the occupations of the characters within. It's not an office lady as well, so it's different. And
it's as different,
as much as that setting is enjoyable, this is different. Now, some people may take issue with the sort of master-servant dynamic that goes on.
Yeah.
But that's to be expected in any of these kinds of stories where you have a relationship in which there's a power differential. That's to be expected. It didn't really bother me, since that aspect of the story wasn't really played up very much, aside from more of just these people come from different classes. Didn't really focus too much on this is, she's the noblewoman and this person is the maid, aside from like a few characters mentioning it here and there. But something to be mindful of. If that's not something you like, you've been warned.
Yeah, I do like that the focus was more so on their, like, the orientation of their relationship rather than the crossing class lines. Like, I don't know if that's something that you noticed, but I did notice that like no one seemed to have a problem with with her liking her maid. It was specifically because the maid was a woman, which I found interesting. I mean, it's kind of like, that's a little bit less grounded in reality, but it was kind of a nice little
you don't have to put that into your story, it's ahistorical, maybe need to suspend your disbelief a little bit for the setting, but it's not a requirement by any means, but it may feel a little odd.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I noticed, and I wasn't bothered by it. I was like, yeah, because it makes sense since the focus is on the gayness and not so much the class part of it. But yeah, I mean, in real life, there would have been a problem with both. So, um, but yeah, I don't. There's so much that I liked about. You know what I really liked? Um, I liked a lot of the side characters, the supporting characters. Um, you pro I don't know. I'm sure I sent you a lot of like screenshots of the the bookstore owner girl and the other maid. You know what I'm talking about? I can't remember their
Yeah,
name.
I know what you're talking about.
They're great. I love them. They're my
The
favorite.
the bookstore owner was a bit too energetic for me. I preferred the maid.
That actually, I take offense to that. Wow, that is offensive. I feel like that was a jab at me.
Are you bouncing off the walls all the time?
Yes. No. No, I'm asleep most of the time.
That's what I thought.
But no, I liked her. I liked their dynamic. The two of them, it was like opposites attract. You know what I mean? They complemented each other well. And so I thought they were adorable. Um, what else did I like? The art was nice.
Yeah, it does look very nice.
It is very nice. I know I sent you some screenshots of certain scenes that were just like, oh, they were so good. It was so the just the way that they are drawn, the outfits, the fashion, so good. Oh gosh. Ooh, I actually kind of want to. I think I want to buy this in the aren't there physical versions?
I mean, there better be considering I own them, unless maybe my whole life is a lie, but I don't think so.
I mean, it is. You're an AI. You're not actually. You don't actually have a life. So
I mean, fair enough. Fair enough.
mhm. So I think I'm gonna buy them because I could see myself rereading this. Like that's I don't there's so much that I liked. Oh, what did you think? Okay, what did you think about the fiance?
So I'm not sure if this is going to be spoilers or not. There's a point where our main character
Mhm.
says like, I can tell that Mr. Fiance Man really cares about Miss Noble Lady, and I'm sat here thinking like, when the heck was this ever portrayed at all? Like, what?
I will be honest and say that
This needed to be developed more in order for like this
yes.
comment to have been made. I was like, what?
Right.
I didn't get that impression whatsoever.
Not even a little bit. Honestly, I was triggered by that man because he seemed unnecessarily like
He seemed super like aggressive.
he was aggressive
Unnecessarily so.
and controlling. And I was just like, sir, I don't like this. I don't like the meddling. I think I mean obviously he was there for, dramatics, like and I guess also to add a little bit of historical relevance because of course like back then she would have been probably betrothed to some dude or whatever. And I mean, in general he seemed nice enough. Like at least he wasn't portrayed as like
Cruel.
yeah, but it's just the way that he was well, actually even the way he treated our main character was pretty normal it was pretty normal considering his status and all that stuff. I mean, of course he's going to be an asshole to a maid, but he wasn't even that mean. Like he wasn't as mean as I've seen in like historical
He was
fiction
more so
shows.
upset that like she's my fiance.
Right.
Leave
It
her
was
alone.
yeah, he was very like I don't know. It was triggering. I was like, no. You have no proof, sir, that, wow, okay, just those of y'all who are watching the video, which, wait, why am I saying that? This is all video. Wow. Sorry, I forgot what podcast I was on for a second. My eyes are bothering me.
You disliked him that much, you just
Gosh.
cried as mentioned. Oh boy.
No, my allergies are just awful. Okay. Sorry, where were we?
We were talking about Mr. Fiance Man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I did not like him. Which obviously we're not supposed to like him.
Yeah.
He couldn't be too nice because then we'd feel bad. So he had to have some sort of flaw, which was his entire being. His entire being was a flaw. I didn't like him. Speaking of dislikes, was there anything that you specifically didn't like anything that like jumped out at you that made you go like, what the?
Like anything else? Like, so the ending I felt was unearned. All right, I'm gonna say it right now. There was not enough development for that ending. It was not there. We are drawn the whole series. This is going to be the conclusion. Everything looks like it's going in that direction, and then all of a sudden, no moment, no like build up, no development in regards to this ending. All of a sudden, something else entirely. And I'm like, you know, you were building up to this one kind of ending.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the pieces there. You could have done that well. And it's a period piece, so that kind of ending works generally pretty well for period pieces, especially. And then you just, for some reason, decided to change things up without the proper development. And that was disappointing for me, because I like it when endings make sense. I don't like it when they don't.
Yeah, like even at the expense of a happy ending, I guess, because I have mixed feelings. Because on the one hand, I liked the feelings that the ending gave me.
Well, of course.
Like, if that makes sense. Yeah, like I definitely I liked the feelings that the ending gave me, but it didn't. I mean, you're right. It didn't make sense. Actually, okay. Let me take that back. I'm not surprised that it happened, because I do think that in a lot of ways the story was set up. I kind of think that the story was set up to end at least similarly to how it ended. But it still didn't make sense for the time. So it's definitely one of those where you have to, again, suspend disbelief a little bit. And also you kind of have to be okay with just like endings that are like, here you go. Almost
just YOLO the ending, because why not?
I wonder did she like write a note or anything like about why
I don't
she
know.
chose that ending? Because if
that was the ending, there needed to be supporting material to draw us to that conclusion.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, I have a lot of questions, which she does say at the end that she hopes to be able to write more about what happens after. Because I can't help but think, like, what are y'all finna do? Like, where are y'all gonna go?
there was no there was nothing set up.
There's no preparation.
Like, the reason why that like the noblewoman didn't want this, particular outcome was never
Mhm.
addressed as to why all of a sudden she is okay with this outcome.
Mhm.
Um, like we're just left like, yeah, this is the happy ending
Mhm.
without any justification as for why everything is now going to be okay.
Other than I just want them to be okay. Like that's like what it felt like. It felt like the mangaka was like, you know what? Or maybe their editor was like, actually, we need to make sure that we have a happy ending. Um and it just I guess also too, TBH, I have a hard to like as much of a like a whore for romance. I love romance. Even like the most like ridiculous over the top. I love it. But something about this story, I'm just like, girl, y'all barely like do y'all even know each other talking about I love you? Like
I think
that
I think the story takes place over like months. Surely. It,
months.
it must,
Do
right?
you
Like
months is
cuz
still not that long.
if you're trapped in a room with a single solitary person for a month, tell me you do not at least get to know that person to a degree greater than like 95% of the people that know them.
Well, yeah, but that's not this like but that don't mean I want to marry them. Like see that's me like putting too much of real life into it because it's a story. And of course they, wait, was that a spoiler? I'm going to cut that out because that was a spoiler. Oops. Do you have a favorite character?
um hmm. I don't know.
Mm,
I don't feel like I saw enough of either of them to really say that one of them was my favorite character. Like they're
mm-hmm.
fine characters, but I would have liked to have seen a bit more development, especially for the noble lady.
Yeah, I can see.
Because like she's brought up fairly frequently in the first volume, but then we sort of stop following her
Mm-hmm.
after that, which was odd, but it didn't bother me too much. But now looking back at it, I'm like, that's kind of strange. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if we're gonna try and make this like where we have two sort of protagonists and we're watching their lives intermingle,
Mm-hmm.
we need to see both of them,
Right.
not necessarily the exact same amount of time, but probably pretty close to one another, like no greater of a split than like 40-60.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that. We saw significantly more of the maid girl.
Right. I would have liked to see more of the noblewoman's like work as a this is a spoiler. So spoiler alert, y'all. Spoiler alert. The noblewoman turns out to be the author. But we don't like it was hard for me to believe it. I didn't like although I knew it and they told me, I didn't believe it because we didn't get to see much of her like being an author, I guess. Or
Yeah, it
maybe
would have been nice to see that played up. Now, I think
yeah.
there's some mention, like she talks to the maid girl,
Hmm.
and she provides that she has some insight in storytelling.
Yeah.
Like, but it would have been nice to see her like write in a journal or
Hmm.
something like that. But I felt like it was pretty clearly foreshadowed. Like that wasn't much of a surprise. Like we knew like
Yeah.
from the very beginning. But it would have been neat if we saw her like write.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Um, also, um, so again, this is me being picky, if I have to be picky, just for the sake of having something to talk about. Um, the fact that the noblewoman's former like tutor or whatever that she was like, I guess, kind of like in love with or crushing on. The fact that she ended up being our maid girl's teacher in Japan was so like, of course, that's what would happen because it's a manga. But I rolled my eyes so hard.
Oh, now that you're mentioning it, like, I don't think it was sold well enough that their two relationship, the relationship between the former maid or the governess, she was not a maid,
Yeah,
she was a governess. The
governess
and her and the noblewoman, like we didn't hear much of that, which
no, there was a little bit. Yeah,
would have been nice to hear because this seems to have played an important role in the noblewoman's life, and we didn't see much of it.
No.
And now, now that I've said all of these things, like, this is, this was underdeveloped, this was underdeveloped, this was underdeveloped.
Yeah.
The story was too short is now the conclusion that I'm coming to.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Which is unfortunate. And I feel like this happens probably a lot in a lot of shorter series. I mean, it can be done well, but I feel like in this, there were just almost, now that I'm thinking of it, there were just too many like branches, I guess, of the plot. Like there's just too much going on.
Yeah.
And not enough getting
I feel like if they trimmed like one or two of them, they could have covered it in 3 volumes. But when you're doing this is the ending we want to have, and the fiance actually cares about the noblewoman, despite us never having seen this ever play out ever. The noblewoman is, the author, whatnot. This is the ending we're going to go with. And the relationship with the governess, like there's too much that tried to be done in too small of a space. And so what you have is a product which I feel is worth reading. I think the story is worthwhile, but it's not, it's done, but it's not complete.
Right. Yeah. And now I'm gonna and I might even just edit it out so I don't have to say this, but actually I'm not going to buy the physical copies. Because after thinking about it, I'm like, it's definitely a good Kindle read for me. And I'll probably edit all of that out. But yeah, it's, wow, sitting here and talking about it kind of, that's what happens. Okay, see, usually when I'm reading something, I'm not going to say that I don't read critically because I don't think that I don't think it's entirely possible to read something without analyzing it a little bit in your head while you're reading it. But like, I generally just kind of read it and I think, okay, I enjoyed that or I didn't enjoy that. Then sitting down and talking about it, and it's like, oh, well, wow, maybe maybe I didn't enjoy it as much as like I thought. Like I enjoyed it, but would I say that it's like amazing? Nah, but I don't know. It's a fun read.
Yeah, and it's short too. It's not a big commitment.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of
there's not really another Yuri series like it because of its setting and premises. So it's novel at the very least.
Yes. And it is really, I just, like I said earlier, I like that the focus is on the relationship between the two women as opposed to a relationship between the different classes. I mean, and there are so many things that, could have been explored. The whole like class difference and the fact that like the power difference, like there's all these things, but I like that it focused on the gay part.
And it did that well, especially for the time period. Like one thing that I think was really neat is Oscar Wilde is mentioned in the story, and that kind of brings in some context. So there are certain things that it does pretty well, but it does try to do too much.
Yes,
And
and
that's the problem.
yes. I mean, and that's really the problem in life. Some y'all are doing too much. And it shows because and by some of y'all I mean me. I guess normally we would do like what do we expect going forward, but it's the end.
I mean,
It's
I
the
guess
end.
if the author decides to continue the series, like what would I expect? And my expect would be there should be turmoil.
Yeah.
Like if the author decides to, go on and write and, it's happy days forevermore, like that's not satisfying in my
No.
opinion. As much as I want to see a happy couple, like this is if it's going to be a happy couple, other things need to be there. Like
Yeah.
like,
I mean, for the whole point of reading fiction, well, my whole point of reading fiction, especially fictional like romance, is to be able to explore like scenarios, situations, and things that maybe I would not be in, like, and so I enjoy when there's a lot of conflict. I kind of like to see couples struggle.
yeah, that's another thing.
um,
Like these two, like granted, there's been struggle, obviously.
well,
It's
yeah,
the Victorian age, and it's
yeah,
like obviously
right.
there's struggle associated with that, but that's the only kind of struggle we see.
Yeah.
We don't really see the ups and downs that always come with parts of relationships. It's not
Yes.
just you and the other person in a vacuum.
Right.
There are other things that need to be dealt with, and
Yes.
really see that. We didn't really see how these characters dealt with those kinds of problems that it's usually at least touched on a little bit in most stories, at least those featuring adults. Obviously, the
Right.
high school ones are different, but when you're reading a high school Yuri, it's a high school Yuri. You know what you're getting into. You know the kinds of struggles and problems these characters are going to be dealing with.
You know what? When you say that, I think an issue that maybe I have with it is that while it does feature adults and like while it does tackle sort of more, I guess, grown up,
Our
mature
main
themes.
character is not really
Right.
treated as an adult.
Right. It feels like, and honestly, I don't think either one of them are really treated as an adult, like as the way that we, would think adults would be treated. And it almost feels like this was like, and I don't know what the demographic is for this, but it definitely felt like maybe the target audience skews a little younger. Because like maybe like like older teens. Just
I think
because.
that's the rating on the book.
Is it? Okay. Well, then that makes sense. Because, yeah, it tackles something, like it brings up some things that I think are pretty mature and that a teenager could read and like kind of dissect, because the teens, they're learning new stuff now, new terms, and they can like do their little video essays and stuff about it. But it doesn't show things that make a story feel truly adult, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
they're not really dealing with
this
that.
is not the end all be all of what like an adult story is going to be, but like
No.
like as an example, like we don't deal with any of like existential problems that the characters face. Like granted, adult stories don't need that aspect, but that's one element that can be featured in a series and you're like, oh, this is a series featuring adults, adult subject matter, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I mean, overall, like I like it. Again, I liked the characters. I definitely liked the supporting characters a little more than the main ones. I think that they somehow like their personalities were stronger. Oh, okay. So the fact that she like came over from Japan or I say came over, she went from Japan to the UK in that time period alone is astounding. I mean, I guess her English was pretty good. I guess that was what was implied.
It was never mentioned that she had difficulty speaking at the very least.
Right. Which is remarkable because I don't know, as someone who has studied languages, it's still scary when you go to that country for the first time and you think, "Oh yeah, I got this." And then you get there and you're like, "Oh no, it's different." So,
but thinking about that also being added in, I'm like, oh, too much. There's already too much, and we're adding more. Like, oh boy.
Okay, that's fair, especially since we only have 3 volumes. Like, if it was longer, I think she could have explored that, because that would have been. I say she. I actually don't know the gender of the mangaka. Apologies, but yeah.
And then you could have, like, the noble woman takes her innocent maid and also teaches
Mm-hmm.
her how to read, and she's an author, so this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, now you also have a teacher-student dynamic, which could also be a problem, but that would kind of make some aspects of the story come together more neatly.
Mm-hmm.
But it would need more volumes.
Yes, like at least 3 more.
I feel like as is, it could have done with an extra volume and been fine, given how much material we got per volume. I feel like with a 4th volume, it could have done what it needed to do.
I do not regret reading it.
Yeah, it was a good read.
Yeah.
And I want to read more of the mangaka's work.
Yes. I don't have anything else to say about this series.
Yeah, neither do I. It was pleasant read.
Yeah.
Wish it was more complete, but still good. I would still recommend giving it a read. Physical volumes or digital, whichever you prefer, and it's only 3 volumes, so it's it's not a big commitment. You're not reading a massive series.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're looking for a Yuri series that, you know what? I think this is a good series for people who are new to Yuri and like but they don't want high school stuff, like adults or young people too who want to read about adults, whatever. But like
a WLW story for someone that doesn't want to read about high school students.
Yes. And it's like maybe their first time, I think it's a good starting point. Yeah. Actually, yeah, totally. I'm totally right. So next month is May. That's my birth month. Because it's my birthday month, I have said that I want to be the one who chooses. Although, did I choose this one? No, you chose this one.
No, you chose this one.
No, I didn't.
Sure.
Did I choose this one? Oh no. Have I wait. I think the ratio
I think I've chosen 4. I think.
And this is our 9th episode.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I think I've chosen 4.
So that means it skews to more, I guess, on my side. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter because I'm going to probably get what I want. So what I suggested for May is another short series. It's a 3-volume series. The final volume is supposed to be released May 18th. And I'm hoping that we will get to talk about that series. And it is this one, A Witch's Love at the End of the World by Kujira. And it is published by Yin Press.
But if we are unable to, because the release date is mid-May and we record in the middle of the month, there's also Whisper Me a Love Song volumes 1 and 2 by Kodansha, which we will be reading if, you know, it ends up being too late and we need to record and we haven't been able to read that final volume.
Yes. So fair is fair. We'll let y'all know which one we end up reading. And of course, we'll let y'all know on our Twitter, where y'all should be following us, although we don't post there that often. So speaking of Twitter, Lythis.
Yeah.
Where can our listeners find you individually?
On Twitter /Lythis, and on YouTube, also just Lythis. I'm pretty easy. You can see my name spelled out on screen right now.
Yes.
So, assuming you know how to use a keyboard, you should be good to go.
Oh my God. See, you don't need to. Can we not be shady to the kids? They didn't ask for that.
I mean, they're not leaving comments, so I will throw all the shade that I want.
This is true. It's upsetting. Anyway, so y'all can find me individually on Twitter. Just as I've been saying lately, you could just Google MommaLuvsManga.
Oh.
Oh.
The next episode will be going up on my channel. Just heads up.
Oh yeah, in May.
Yes.
Yes, that episode will be going up on his channel. So yeah. Also, let me know, how do y'all like? Do y'all like being able to see my face? Are these the visuals y'all are hoping for? I would say let's try to bully Lythis into showing his face, but it's not going to happen. So don't do that.
It is hard to do when you are but a mere artificial intelligence.
Exactly. With no face or body or anything. Wait, how are you even doing this? How are you doing this podcast?
By being quite skilled at what I do.
What is it that you do?
I read manga and talk about it on the internet.
Anyway, I think that's it. Do we have anything else to say? Do you have anything else to add?
I don't. Ask us questions, please.
Yeah. I don't know what else to do with that. We give y'all plenty of notice, for, each one. And y'all don't, like, what do y'all want from us? Do y'all want us to quit? Is that what you want us to quit this podcast? Lythis would be fine with that. He would absolutely love to quit the podcast, actually.
Wow, the slander.
It's the truth. He told me, and he said, "You are a terrible co-host, and I don't want to do this with you anymore."
Lies.
And this is our last episode.
Don't tell them that. They'll get scared.
No, they won't. They don't care. They don't even comment.
Anyway, bye, friends.
Thanks for watching. Bye.